Neon Genesis Evangelion is pretty good. People tend to like it. I like it. I like it a lot. When End of Evangelion played in a theater this year, you best bet I was in one of those seats. And when something like Evangelion becomes as big and popular as it has, you'd be crazy not to market the hell out of it. This includes video games. Soon after the release of the original series, and shit, a couple of days before End of Evangelion's theatrical release, saw the release of Evangelion Girlfriend of Steel, sometimes translated as Iron Maiden. Originally released on PC, this game has received ports to other consoles and has fortunately received an English patch on both the PC and PSP releases. The game also received a sequel, Evangelion Girlfriend of Steel 2nd in 2003, also PC and PSP English patched. Thank you to my patrons. If you would like to support me and the channel, you can do so at Patreon, link on screen and in the description. For a minimum of $1, you gain access to some behind the scenes, bonus videos, a shout out, and more. Girlfriend of Steel opens up with an animation of a big fucking robot attacking Tokyo 3. Shinji and mid-shower Asuka run to the balcony to see what the hell's going on. Cut to a shot of Asuka's bare fucking ass. Would it surprise you to know that in addition to hating himself,
自分が作ったアニメは好きですか？
まあ好きといえば好きですけど、結構嫌いなところもあります。
嫌いなところはどんなところですか？
自分が出てるところ。
Hideaki Anno also hates Girlfriend of Steel. According to an interview with Diamond Online, Hideaki Anno had no involvement with this game whatsoever. In fact, he didn't know shit all about the development of this game until it released. As such, he didn't view it really as Evangelion, especially since there is a stronger emphasis on fan service as displayed by Asuka on full display. The fan service isn't the only reason, of course, but it's so upfront and blatant to not address right now. So what the fuck even is Girlfriend of Steel? The fuck is this game? Girlfriend of Steel is primarily a visual novel with some light adventure game elements. It is very kinetic and low as shit on interactivity. Every text box is not only voiced, it's also automatic. So very rarely are you even touching the mouse or keyboard. I'm talking like a straight half hour of just reading the dialogue and letting the game run on its own. There are times where you are thrown into some gameplay, but even then those segments last for at most 5 minutes, maybe? And all you're doing is clicking the move button to adventure game walk a couple screens away before being thrusted back into more dialogue. It honestly feels closer to an audio drama but with visuals. In Girlfriend of Steel, you play as and follow Shinji as he meets a new girl, a transfer student named Mana Kirishima. She is the titular Steel girlfriend. Visually, she's designed to be a mix of Asuka and Rei, having the shorter cut similar to Rei while having the reddish brown, a color closer to Asuka. Now this bitch, day fucking 1, sees Shinji sight unseen and throws herself pussy first his way, and I'm just like, bro, you just met. It is explained at the end why she's like this, but damn, it's ovulation on minute 1 and the floodgates are non-existent. Calm down, girl. I don't really care much for Mana. There isn't much to her outside of being this game's love rival for Asuka. And that role is made much fucking tougher since how could you possibly compete against Asuka? Like, you can't. She's had the whole show's worth of time for the audience to grow attached to her. In what scenario would anyone pick Mana over Asuka? Beats me. Oh yeah, and it is of course tradition for Gainax girls to have their tits shown at some point. I'm not showing this for many reasons. Most importantly being that, as a reminder, these characters are minors. Man, the fuck is up with Gainax and underage nudity? Speaking of, Asuka plays a major role in this game as a romantic choice 2 of 2. She lays it on thicker in this game than she does in the show. There's a lot more Shinji gimme kissy here. She's fine in this. She's still acting mostly within her character, just with a lot less nuance. Which, let's be real, I like Asuka a lot for her nuance and the way she's written. Then there's Rei. What the fuck is there to say about her? She's barely in this. You could probably count her lines of dialogue on your fingers, so if you like Rei and like seeing her on screen, then you're not going to like to hear that she's getting super shafted and sidelined. This could partially be because she shares a voice actress with Mana, so there would be less Rei because the voice actress is already featured heavily in the game. Despite having moments of adventure gaminess and the occasional not a real choices, there is really only one choice in the game that actually has any meaning that does affect the game. At the ass end of the game, you're given a prompt, and this single prompt is what decides what ending you get. That's it. Only the one meaningful choice you have, and it's whether or not you want Shinji to end up with Asuka or Mana. Not gonna lie, the most enjoyable parts of this game were when Mana wasn't on screen. I like the cast of Evangelion, and I like the moments of them just hanging out. There's some cute moments between Shinji and Asuka in this game, only for that to end because the game cuts to shoving Mana down your throat. It is kind of funny that the whole selling point and focus of this game, that being this game's unique character, is my least favorite character. When she was on screen, I kinda wanted her gone so I can go back to hanging out with the rest of the cast. While I am talking primarily about the PC version of this, I'd argue that the PSP version is the better version. First and foremost, it actually has fucking audio options. Yeah, the PC version doesn't even have fucking audio options. The PSP version also has new CG cutscenes, so they didn't just dump it on the PSP and call it a day. They actually added shit to this. An additional addition is another whole-ass optional ending. It's another Mana ending, but it's still cool to see. There's also entirely new scenes with whole new CG that were not in the PC version either. But it's not just additions, some changes were made, such as the movement UI was changed to this really cool looking map. I say this version is better than the PC release, so emulate this shit if you're thinking of playing it. Evangelion Girlfriend of Steel 2nd, much like its predecessor, opens on a shot of Asuka's ass filling the whole frame. Would it surprise you to know that in addition to hating themselves, Evangelion fans tend to like Girlfriend of Steel 2nd? So here's the thing about Girlfriend of Steel 2nd. This game is nothing but fan service. And yet I don't have as much of an issue with this game being fan service as I did the first game, and that's because 2nd doesn't take itself seriously. It knows what it is and it plays into that. It doesn't try to act seriously in any capacity, and in that it is honest with its intentions. 2nd takes place in an AU Eva, kinda like the one shown in episode 26. One where Shinji is a normal kid, Asuka is his childhood friend, Rei is a transfer student, and Yui is alive. Some things don't change though. The Evangelions still exist, but they're not treated as the horror that it really is, and Gendo is still a piece of shit father. In this universe, Asuka and Shinji are already pretty close, except that she's left soon and more Dere. And Rei exhibits a much more expressive personality, much like the one shown in episode 26. Having Rei like this kinda negates the need for Mana, which is why she doesn't get brought back in the sequel. Personality-wise, and even their premises of being transfer students, they're not that different in their role. Rei is just Mana, but a brunette and not a brunette, which would just make her even more like Yui and make this shit even more worrying. And also Kaworu is featured in this game. While Asuka and Rei are both dateable candidates, Kaworu only partially is. He's given options to spend time with him over the other girls, even going so far as going on a date. But he doesn't have an ending with Shinji. He's written to be explicitly gay, overtly even. His existence is almost entirely Fujo bait for the Fujos to bait over. But in order to get to that shit to begin with, you gotta play the game. Fortunately, this is a better game than the prior. 2nd leans far more in interactivity than the first. It plays a lot more like an actual adventure game in that there's a lot more maps that you're able to go through, that you're required to go back and forth in and trigger flags in order to progress. No, there's no real puzzles or shit like that. The actual gameplay loop is finding yourself in somewhere like the school, and you have to go to various rooms and talk to the characters you find there. It's simple, but that's really all it has to be. Also, the game drops the auto-progress, which I think is a better decision. It keeps you more engaged having to do something, even as simple as pressing the next button. At every chapter you're given some sort of choice of whether or not to side with or hang with Asuka or Rei. Sometimes Kaworu, but as said, he doesn't have an ending and his events are more an extension of Rei's. This causes the chapters to split off, and each chapter can have 2 ways to play out. Even if it is only one real choice per chapter, it still makes me feel that I have some agency in how the story plays out. Not as much as other VNs, but definitely more than the previous Girlfriend of Steel. And when you branch off, it branches into just straight fan service. Various moments cutting to CGs of the girls in alternate outfits with cute dresses and shit. I know I talk about the fan service in this game exclusively through the lens of fake dating cartoon girls, but fan service isn't always just that. There's also a bunch of joke endings you can get, either by choosing wrong dialogue choices or maybe going down the wrong path. You'll see some funny shit. One of the early ones you can get is by going up to Gendo when you have the chance, and the game will just be like, they reconciled minute 1 and now they live the rest of their lives as lumberjacks as the best of friends. If you decide to assault Rei, you get thrown into a trial with the UN, and the best one is Shinji getting killed and then getting revived as Robo Shinji, Protector of New York. Some of these are legitimately funny, and it's clear that the team behind this game knew what they were making and just decided to have fun with it. The game is pretty lighthearted overall. The Evangelions and Angels do still exist in this world, but even then they aren't a constant overwhelming threat to humanity and their possible annihilation. They end up fighting the Angels, but it's treated as a nothing side story, as if it wasn't a big deal. Less depression, less mental breakdowns, and more casually just living life. Much like the first game, not only did the PC release get an English patch, but so did the PSP release. Unlike the first game, I wouldn't call it the better release. The PSP version is less animated, but you do have audio options. Outside of that, there's really not much differences between the versions. There is no definitive version of this available in English right now. Both of these games feel more like a curiosity. It's one of those things that once you hear about its existence, it makes you wonder what the fuck is going on in it. I looked at it like an Ava dating sim starring Shinji? Dude's got no game, how the fuck is he gonna pick up any girls? So I played them, and they're not long either. Both of these games are about 2.5 hours each and are very low time commitment. They are not the best games, but if you've got some spare time and nothing to do one day, why not play them? And this includes the first Girlfriend of Steel 2. I think the second game is definitely the better, and fortunately you don't need to play the first to understand the second, but with a time commitment that low, why not see what's going down? And yeah, sure, the games don't have the same writing or nuance as the anime, but even then, it's still an enjoyable time seeing these what-if scenarios.